Hello and welcome to Project B, and in this episode we introduce our lemon. If you're car guys like us, you've probably caught yourself on car sales and Gumtree looking at cars that you just can't afford. None more so
than the GTR.
Yep, I was aiming a little higher. Lamborghinis. They're a ridiculous sum of money that very few people have and can actually afford. So we thought to ourselves, how can we afford one of these god tier cars without having to fork out $250,000?
And so our only idea was car flipping.
Car flipping is the act of buying cars cheap, fixing them up and selling them for more money, thus making a profit. So to start this challenge, we've bought this 2007 Mazda 3 MPS. The Mazda 3 is a compact car manufactured in Japan by Mazda. It was introduced in 2003, replacing the ever-reliable Mazda Familia and 323. A performance-orientated version of the Mazda 3 was marketed as the Mazda Speed 3 in North America and the Mazda 3 MPS in Europe, Australia and New Zealand. The vehicle is front-wheel drive and powered by a 2.3-litre turbocharged inline-4 petrol engine. The engine produces 263 horsepower and 280 foot-pounds of torque, making the MPS popular among car enthusiasts. Unfortunately, when you're buying cars at the auction, you can't expect them as thoroughly as you'd like. So we were able to start the car, and that's about it. You can go over the car. Because this is such a low car, you can't really get under it. You can't see anything from underneath. You can check engine bays, but you can't move them. You can't plug any tools into them. You can't jump start them, so if the car's dead, you're really just rolling the dice. We went to have a look at this car. The car started. We did notice that the radiator fan wasn't turning on, so that's probably something we're going to have a look at. But let's jack the car up and see what we've bought. So first things, we want to look at the wheel bearings of the car, make sure that they're all good. This wheel looks fine and feels fine. We're also looking at the suspension struts, making sure there's no leaks. Moving on to the exhaust, making sure it's not corroded, no holes or rust. You can see the heat shielding here is factory, but moving forward, the heat shielding up here around the cat is, yeah, bit bodged, so that's probably something we're going to have a look at replacing or tidying up. Moving on from the questionable heat shielding, onto the front wheels again, checking wheel bearings, checking bushes. Everything seems fine here, nice and tight, no movement. Again, checking the struts, making sure there's no leaks. Moving over to the opposite side, same thing again. CV joints, making sure there's no leaks there. But everything looks fine. Now, the main important part of underneath the car is the engine. We want to make sure there's no leaks. And on the back side of the engine there, nice and dry. There's a tiny little bit of oil leak just there, but we think that one's coming from the oil filter, which is just right in front, which we'll be replacing in the next episode. But all in all, very tidy car, nice and clean and dry, besides that small little oil leak under there, and all the bushings and struts are all good. Next up, we'll plug in the scan tool and see if there's any error codes. This is our scan tool. Very useful pieces of kit, very good at diagnosing faults in cars. So we'll just go through and we will just see if there's anything wrong with the car.
A few moments later.
So we're just scanning the car now for all its different things, and basically what the scan tool does is it goes through each of the electrical components on the car and just lets you know if there's any faults. So we've gone through, nothing wrong with the powertrain, so that's your engine, anti-lock braking system, that's all good, RCM. We've got one fault with the instrument cluster, so we'll just have a look at what that one is. So that's a non, doesn't matter. So it's going to erase. that one. Cool. So now if we go back, to rescan it, and that one's all good. So that would just be a stored fault, so it's something that's happened in the history of the vehicle, and it just logs that for you. So now that's not an issue. We've got a automatic temperature control, which the aircon's not blowing cold, so that's probably a good indicator. Let's see what it says. Sun load sensor short circuit to ground. Now that's quite intriguing. We'll see what happens if we clear the code. Yep. Alright, so it's probably not going to come back, so it's going to say it's fine, but we'll start the car, run the car, and see if it comes back on another scan. So we just got another one, a generic electrical malfunction, and that one's, I think, just reporting the sensor failure. So we'll go back to that one. There we go. So the left door, rear door is ajar, circuit failed to open, and battery voltage low. So when we did get the car did have a pretty much dead battery. So that was one of the first things that we replaced. So we can jump out of that one and just erase those. Yep. Okay. So now the car's showing no fault. So what we'll do is we'll jump out of this. We'll turn the car on. Let it run for a little bit. Go for a scan. So the only fault that's returned is this electronic automatic temperature control. Turn the ignition on. Go try and read that one again. So yeah, sun load sensor short circuit to ground. So just have a look at that one. So that's probably something that we're going to have to address, and could be the reason, probably not though, for the radiator not working.
Thanks for tuning in. In the next video, we'll be jumping into servicing the Mazda and also diagnosing the sensor fault.
If you've liked what you've seen, please like and subscribe and comment down below, and we'll see you in the next Lemon to Lambo video. Done!